Hey everyone! Thanks for joining us on Asking for a Friend, a podcast for women created by New Hope Community Church. The phrase and hashtag asking for a friend is used in sarcasm after asking an embarrassing question, indicating that it's so awkward it must be asked under the guise of a helpful friend. This discussion group was born out of a desire to talk openly about things that are often considered taboo or stay hidden in general, but especially in the church. Statistics show that the issues we will cover affect women within the church as much as those who don't consider themselves churchgoers, so let's talk about them. The first and very simple purpose of this group is to let women know that they are not alone. Across social media and even in person, we always show the best of ourselves, leading us to believe that nobody else has the same struggles as we do. This is such a lonely feeling and only leads to discouragement. This is a lie that we hope to expose by the time our discussion is over. Also, studies show that one of the reasons current generations don't consider going to church is that the church is not open to messy discussions and believe that Christians think they have all the answers. The second purpose of this discussion group is to show that this group of women admits we don't have simple solutions to life's questions, and we recognize that we never arrive, but will be working through these issues during our lifelong journey. The third purpose of this group is to give practical suggestions and spiritual counsel to others based on the experience of our guests and the resources we've put together. Specifically, we will recommend resources from Right Now Media, a video resource library called the Netflix of Bible Studies. For your free access, text Right Now space NHCCMN to 41411. As we listen to one another's stories and are bold in sharing our own, we can create a community where we are all fully known and fully loved. Because this is a safe space and the issues are sensitive, we will not be sharing the names of our guests. If you have questions about a particular guest or story, please contact us and we will connect you. Hi yet. That's all right. Today's session is called Fearfully and Wonderfully Made. It is based on the verses Psalm 139, 13, and 14. For you have created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. The topics we're covering are self-image, eating disorders, and self-harm. Some of the resources that we recommend from Right Now Media is one called Eating Disorders session from Compass and Light. It's a series that has 7 short films covering topics of anxiety, bipolar, depression, addiction, eating disorders, PTSD, and suicide. As we listen to one another's stories and are bold in sharing our own, we can create a community where we are all fully known and fully loved. All right, so we have 2 friends here. One friend graciously brought me chai that I don't need because I'm already wired. And we didn't have any coffee mugs today, so I'll just share mine. You don't drink coffee.
I don't drink coffee.
And you brought your puppy handprint mug last time when we met. This is my mama bird mug that my sister gave me. And I have 2 girls, so there's one and there's the other. I guess it's rare to find something that has a mug that has something on both sides. So, all right. So we're just going to start off. When did you guys start to notice that there was something like beyond just, maybe moving stuff around on your plate or counting calories to like, this might be a problem? Like, at what age? Or not even the food, but you were told at a young age about what you should and shouldn't be eating.
Yeah, mine started at age 5 where I was told if you ate certain things, you'll get fat, and I was restricted more so than my brothers. I remember at a young age things my brothers could eat, but I couldn't eat. So, it shaped, but I didn't know it was a problem until later in life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Teenage, 13, 14.
Mm-hmm. What did you notice?
I noticed I was obsessed with how much serving size was, how many calories it was, and I always had to weigh myself every night. So.
Yeah. One of the stats I read said that of 10-year-olds, 81% worry about being fat.
So high.
Oh, that's terrible. You know, someone with 2
At 10,
daughters.
Yeah.
Do you have kids?
Yep, I have one daughter.
Yeah.
And she's 15 now. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I think I first noticed in middle school is when I first started noticing, and I think that once I started noticing, you could start looking back to notice like this kind of building into a problem or just like little things that people were saying that kind of like built up to this change that I was about to make in my diet, and just like how poorly I felt for self-image. And so yeah, I was probably like 6th grade, I want to say, that I really noticed it. And like over that summer was when I really started like portioning, or I would have to, like, if I ate something, I would immediately go like run laps around my house, or just like anytime after I ate, immediately I'd have to go exercise to like try to burn it off immediately. Like I just didn't want those calories to like be there for any amount of time. And so, yeah, I mean, it's heartbreaking to think that we were so young when all of this starts to happen.
Yeah. Did you have, like, what around you kind of reiterated to you that you weren't good enough or that you had to do something more? Was there anything on the outside telling you that?
I think just, like, little comments from people that I don't think meant harm, but I started taking them as like I wasn't good enough, or I was seeking that approval from people and I wasn't getting it, and not just in like image, but also in like school, or just like I think a lack of people being positive to me, and saying, you know, I did a good job in anything really. And so I started internalizing that, and then one of my family members had said, I was wearing an outfit one day, and this was kind of like the one thing that really, like I said, it kind of like built up, but this is like the one thing that really kind of like made it blow up, I guess, was I was wearing an outfit, and then they had said, are you wearing that? That does not fit you. And kind of like like I said, I don't think they meant it to be mean, but it really was like
remember that.
Yeah, like that moment where I was like, I have to do something about this. And obviously, I don't think anybody, like, you don't immediately go to that place where you're like, oh, I have a huge problem, but it just, like, you start and it just snowballs into, like, you know, I thought that I was, like, this is the one thing I could control, because I wasn't hearing the things that, you know, I needed to hear, or people weren't, you know, being sensitive enough. And so this is, like, I thought, oh, I can control what I'm eating, I can control this, but really looking back, you realize you're so out of control that it's like
I said too.
I
had no control over it, but I thought I did.
Yeah, you think like, oh, this is the one thing that I have that like nobody else can take, but you're not in control of what you're doing anymore. It's just
it
becomes an addiction.
Yeah, you talked about it, I think, being similar to an addiction too.
Yeah, I mean, I have the side of going through addiction, and I have the side of having been diagnosed with anorexia nervania, and I think dealing with my anorexia has been harder than any drug or anything I've quit. This has been the hardest.
It's more hidden too. It's not like everyone knows. Just say no, you know, to drugs, but it's hidden. You can, you know, wear bigger clothes, or, you know, purge, you know, in private and all that kind of stuff. But for you, did anything else come of it? Like we talked about addiction, other things like unhealthy relationships, self-injury. I don't know if you struggled with that.
I didn't have any self-injury, but I definitely, especially then, like when you're starting middle school, then it was like, okay, well, you know, boys started coming into the picture, and then it's like I felt like I needed to have a boyfriend all the time. So I'd have a relationship, and then and I would usually, or I guess always, be the one to say like, okay, I'm done with this one, but I would immediately like have something else. And I mean, they were middle school relationships, so it's not like super deep or anything, but I always just like had exactly, like how long, and if I thought I saw like maybe they're noticing something,
or they're not noticing enough or something. That I'm like, okay, this is done, and I'm going to move to something else now.
And I was hearing too that it's not just negative comments that makes people conscious. Yeah, like, you know, I don't know, I feel I didn't struggle with it, and so I always feel like people must have said a lot of terrible things about your bodies to make you feel that way. But it was like, no, when people say, oh, you look so good, or you look so skinny today, like, that feeds it too. That feeds it. Yeah. It's so bad.
Yeah, I think when you hit that point where it's not, like, when it starts to become an obsession or an addiction is, like, when you start hearing those positive comments, and then you're like, oh, and then you don't, like, you're so scared of losing that
attention,
that you just have to make sure, you know, that you're doing everything that you can to just, like, stay in that exact image so that people are saying nice things.
Yeah, well, in the media, too. I mean, not that long ago, you would see magazines and, you know, pinup girls and stuff like that, but it's, like, everywhere now. I mean, I'm 34, and so the internet just started, like, becoming a normal thing when I was in high school. And then it's like, I don't know if there have been more eating disorders or self-image things now. I know that depression and everything is higher, but it's just everywhere. And, like, sex sells. Like, isn't it weird? Buy this pasta because whatever. It's like, those two things don't even go together, you know, and that just feeds it and fuels it. And it's so unfortunate. My daughter's friend keeps calling over and over. Were there people that you knew you would never talk to about it, or you didn't want to find out about it?
I kept it under wraps because I always did my research on it. I'm like, if I fall, with my age and my category, if I fall under 111 pounds, that's considered. So I always, like, had my ranges. So, like, I always had my goal weight, but I never went past a certain point because I didn't want to get caught. And then,
like a red flag to somebody.
Yeah, I didn't want the red flags, but little did I know there was
people knew.
People knew. And then I never wanted my parents to know because I didn't want them to feel like it was their fault. Although some of their comments kind of relate to it, but, like, I don't blame them.
Yeah.
It was me.
Yeah. That's true. What was my question? Oh, people that you did not feel safe talking about it.
I don't think I talked to anybody about it. I tried to keep it very secretive. Although people did start noticing, and like, even in, so I wasn't, like, super popular in school, not like a, you know, way on one end, but kind of like the, like a, you know, not really just noticed in, you know, somewhere in the middle. And so I guess at the end of middle school, there was a boy actually in one of my classes, and he actually started calling me anorexic. And I had, like, a...
Because they saw your eating habits in the cafeteria.
Yeah, well, and just that,
clothes? I
think just, I had lost a lot of weight at this point in a very short amount of time. And then I did start doing, like, I started playing volleyball and stuff. So then it was, like, to a point you can hide it, but then once you're wearing, like, school uniforms and stuff, and, like, things are given to you, then you can't really, you know, like, baggy doesn't really exist anymore. And for a while,
stretchies.
And so for a while I was like, oh no, like, somebody found out, but then it was fine because it was, like, attention, and so I'm like, I just need to stay in this space. But thankfully one of my good friends at the time did happen to tell one of our teachers, which kind of started on, like, a super long road to becoming healthier.
What was that conversation like? Because I think part of this whole discussion is, like, how can we respond if we notice something? Because you don't want to, you know, it's a dance kind of to approach it.
She actually never said she didn't say anything to me at the beginning. And so one day I just had a note from, like, I got pulled out of class one day. And so I went down to the office, and then the nurse was there, then this teacher, our gym teacher actually, you know, they had said, oh, well, somebody said that they were concerned about you, and we just wanted to check in. And they were very
like respectful and not like,
Yeah.
you know, like attacking, like, oh, somebody said you're doing this, and just kind of let me be very vulnerable.
Yeah.
But then that kind of started, like, I went down like once a week to the nurse's office to get weighed. And I never looked because I didn't want to. And our, like, deal was that as long as I was, like, making progress, which included not going further, you know, then that could still be, like, I could still stay and be in school. And
did your parents
do
know that at that time? That
my
you were
parents
going
never did
No.
know that I was going down there.
Yeah.
And my friend did eventually say, I'm so sorry, and I hope you're not mad at me. And I really was like, you know, thank God that you said something.
Cared,
and so, you know, especially, you know, for somebody that's watching, like, encourage your kids to just, or, you know, as adults too, but especially as kids, to just, like, if they don't feel like they can reach out to their friend if they're worried, like, reach out to someone. But yeah, it was kind of a long road, and I never really talked about it to anybody until, besides the nurse, I guess. So, you know, even in high school, I went down to the nurse once a week and weighed in, and we had, you know, some conversations, and I'm sure some people were like, gosh, she goes down to the nurse a lot. Maybe, hopefully, they thought I don't know,
Something
you know, had a
else,
medication or something.
Unrelated,
But never until I was an adult did I ever actually, like, openly say, you know, like, this is a problem that I had.
And I think you said at one point, though, you did have a friend who also struggled, and it was like a competition almost, like it was negative, feeding off of each other.
Yeah.
Did you say?
That was me.
That was.
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
Because I always thought you don't want people to know, but you were like, you kind of encouraged each other.
Yeah, we gave
Pushed
each other negative tips on
Yeah.
how to get the lowest calories in and still look like you're eating. And now that we're both, like, in recovery and, like, we encourage each other and stuff now. But in the beginning, when you're not healthy, you kind of draw each other out.
Yeah.
It was not a good thing.
Yeah. And I was learning, too, a couple weeks ago that a lot of times it's, like, grade A students and high achievers and, like, people who are very motivated because they're accomplishing something. Like, did that today, won that one today, you know, and so it's not like these loser burnout kids, you know, or like stereotypes where it's like they have problems. Like, a lot of times it's athletes and, you know, things like that who like the challenge of overcoming something like that. Yeah, I guess, at what point did you know you hit rock bottom? Yours sounded more of like a progress, like you started going to the nurse and like a slow progression.
I
or
think,
can you point
like,
to a time that was like, ooh, this is bad?
I think when I knew it was, so I was anorexic, and then there was a time, I think I knew when it was like the worst, when I would eat and then I would try to throw up.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't like I do not, like throwing up is just something that I just cannot. And so I would sit sometimes, like, down in the basement with an ice cream bucket, like, after everyone went to bed, and just, like, try and try.
I do that now.
And at this,
eat ice cream after everyone goes to bed.
No, I was just sitting with an empty bucket, like, trying to throw up.
I eat all the ice cream out of it. When my kids are in bed.
Just trying to throw up. And I also had found a couple of books at the library, and kind of, I think it started out as like I wanted to get better, and but then it became more of a, like, this book is giving me tips on like other things that I can do, because it's like an, you know, so I mean, like, you're reading about somebody, and the intention was good in the beginning, you know, to like see how did this person actually, you know, like, get through and try to overcome it. And then it just became like, oh, well, you know, she said it can only, if I only eat like this many crackers and do this, or, you know, this time of the day is better than that time, or just like all these little tips, and it just like became this game. And so I think that's when I realized like I'm using somebody else's story that they're meaning for good, like to help people, and I'm using that as a way to like like tear myself down even more.
That's a cool revelation.
And so
You were still a young person.
yeah, so high school
Like
at
high
this
school.
point.
Yeah. That's very deep for a high schooler to understand. But did you have a rock bottom?
I think my rock bottom was when I moved to Florida at 19, and I moved down there spontaneously to reconnect with my mom and family down there. But I was super sick. Like, my mom worked mornings, I worked a night shift, I worked 6 or 7 days a week at doing home health care, so no one was around, and dinner was my main meal I wanted to skip.
Yeah.
Dinner, and then I could skip breakfast. Like, my mom would come in and bring me lunch, so I had to eat then. But I think it got really bad there, and I always constantly weighed myself, and I got to my lowest weight there. That was beyond the red flag era.
Yeah.
And the things I was doing down there to get skinny, like using dieting pills, laxatives, things like I shouldn't have been doing, detoxing stuff. And then purging.
Yeah.
And then I would just look in the mirror and hate myself, and then that's where self-harm escalated down there.
Yeah. I
So-
wanted to ask a little more about that because I feel like that's more uncommon than eating disorders, like for it to translate and go that one step farther. Can you talk about what was the feeling or what was the reason for doing that?
I feel like it came in stages, like self-image. I'm like, oh, I'm not good enough. Like, I'm told I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
Or, and don't eat this, so I'm gonna, okay, I'm gonna restrict. And then it comes into, I feel so worthless, and I hate myself so much. I can't look at the mirror. I don't want to look what's in the mirror, because every time I did, it wasn't good enough. And then I can't even look at the pictures I have of when I'm like that, because I look so sick.
Yeah.
But,
Now
I can't, because I'm like, I'm sick.
Yeah. You have that too.
Yeah, you look back at pictures and you can kind of tell where you're at in the journey, and even as an adult, seeing okay, here's where I was starting to get back into the cycle. Okay, now I'm out again. You know, just kind of seeing in different.
Yeah, that part was not enjoyable, and then the self-harm. I started self-harming at 13. 13 or 4, 12 or 13. That was mostly cutting. Then it got progressively worse as I got older. I started doing, because if I cut myself, I got checked. Eventually I got checked, thighs, stomach, arms.
Doctors?
By doctors. I had family members check me. I got checked with going through inpatient and outpatient and stuff like that. So I'm I need to do something, so I'd accidentally get hurt.
Yeah.
So I
Self-injury.
still self-injuring.
Yeah.
I would go and punch whatever I could outside.
Yeah.
And just I had someone
as a punishment to yourself,
as a
or
punish-
to get out aggression, or
I feel like punishing myself. I'm and I'm if my hand hurts, then I'm not worried about what I look like or how I feel inside and dealing with stuff inside. So I'm gonna go punch a tree because that's smart now. But
kind of just diverts your thoughts for a moment.
It distracted me from that little bit, because then I'm oh, this actually kind of hurt. But with self-harm, I think it was more of a way for me to seek attention. And it wasn't attention oh, poor me. It was I need help.
Yeah.
It was my cry out for help.
Help,
I remember sitting at the dinner table with my aunt, and then when I lived with them, and I'm spitting my food in a napkin.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting to be caught. I'm please just catch me, because I'm 13, I'm not healthy, and I want it to be resolved. But it wasn't until I was 19 I got the actual help I needed.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was one of my questions too for people listening. What are some indicators, when you see others like question, like what your friend noticed or things to watch out for?
I would say like food wise, just seeing like if somebody, usually it's like very repetitive, like, well, we know like how many calories is something, and so like I had the same thing for lunch every single day.
Okay.
Like a bagel with like, a fingernail full of cream cheese just to like make it look like I did something to it, and like that was every single day.
Yeah.
And so I think like the repetitiveness of like a meal or something
like
would be
what middle
like
schooler doesn't want a cheeseburger.
Right. Yeah, and especially like
bread.
something, it's like nobody would really want to eat like the same exact thing every single day.
Right. Yeah.
For lunch, especially when like this was at the high school, like you have a lot of options and you can go through like the pay line and get like pizza and cookies and stuff and whatever, and I just had like the same thing every day.
Did you have a go-to?
I had the Smiley fruit snacks.
Yes, from Walmart.
Yep.
Yeah.
One
So
pack is 50
good.
calories, and it's really bad that I know that still, but like I'd only eat 6 of those a day.
At least it's yummier than bread. Wow. Yeah, that's sad. Is there any other like warning signs? I'm trying to think. With our relationship, it kind of all was a package. Like,
That's how it was.
Yeah, it was a little of everything.
I think otherwise, I mean, just like also trying to like hide. So or like maybe
kind of
it's like
be
mealtime.
unseen.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
Yeah, I
or
did that a lot.
something like that.
disappear.
And so sometimes it's hiding, and sometimes they're just like even with my daughter. A lot of times, if she tries to go to the bathroom after a meal, I'll just follow her.
Yeah.
Or like if we're at a restaurant, like I'll just like stand outside the door.
If she brought anything to throw away.
Or if she's throwing up, like either way.
Yeah.
And so thankfully, I've never had her do that.
And you're open with her about this, especially now as a teen.
Right.
That she's a teen.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we still like talk about body image all the time, and just like. God made people in all different sizes, and everyone is special. And like if you're saying that you're not good enough, that's really saying that God's creation isn't good enough.
Yes.
And so and I know it's like easier said than like to get that through your
well, self-image
mind,
and God's image. You can't just flip a switch and be like, I'm a child of God.
Yep.
I'm not who I thought I was.
It's
and
not
it's been a long process with a lot of things that have happened along the way. I did want to mention too that guys really struggle with this too. I think especially in high school when you're in sports and you're in the locker room and all that kind of stuff too, and also the social media with guys. So it's something to watch for too. I think if you have a teen son, or younger, just to not assume it wouldn't affect them.
Right.
So I don't know. Did you ever know any guys?
Yeah, I knew quite a few, only because we'd hit the gym together,
Yeah.
and it'd always be like, I'm not bigger muscles than this guy, or my stomach's not toned as much. And like, I didn't necessarily see it as signs, but then they're like, we have to only eat this amount of protein in this. And then I started seeing it, and I'm like, okay.
You have the same problem that I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, it might look like a different form than us, or me, or her. Like, I might restrict calories, but they might restrict like and only drink protein shakes, and it might not seem unhealthy.
Yeah.
But you don't know how many calories or whatever they're burning off at the gym and stuff like that. So I've had a few guy friends have issues with it.
Yeah. So I think just important to mention that too. Like it's not just women that struggle. Can you give us some spiritual things, but also practical things that really helped you through any resources or any certain thing that's kind of your go-to, like quote or scripture, or like what are the main things that really helped you?
I think, and this is a thing a counselor told me, especially with my self-harm, and I'd have like something on my wrist that I could spin, like either a bracelet
Ponytail holder.
Ponytail holder. The ponytail holder don't like keep on for long hours because you can cut your circulation off. Like something loose, like a rubber band.
Yeah.
And then like, if I felt like I needed to cut, I would just slap it. I mean, like not like all the way back. Don't do that, please. But like, just you know. And then
fidget spinner.
or fidget toys and stuff like that. And then my big help was having positive people around me. And then
What did you just say the other day I used to tell you?
Kelly's wise words. If you want to see your future, look at your friends.
Show me your friends, I'll show you your future.
Yeah, something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, she used to tell me that all the
Yes.
time. And now I quote her.
Yeah.
But
It's a good one. Yeah.
It's totally true.
Yep.
And art was a big one for you.
Yes, art really helped me escape and express my feelings on paper instead of my skin. And like, I could draw how I wanted to look and then be like, okay, flip the page, and then
It's new.
it's a new piece.
So to show how you're feeling if you're not able to articulate it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think that's beautiful. And we mentioned writing last time too.
Yes,
Yeah, you're a really good writer too.
I like poetry, and I think that helped me a lot because you can express your emotions in it, and like sometimes I can't explain to someone or talk to someone how I felt, but if I wrote it in a poem and then shut the book, I was good. Or
get it out there.
Yeah, sometimes I'd post them on Facebook, but I didn't want the attention from it, so I liked the book.
Right. Yeah. Did you have any particular things that kind of really helped you along the way?
I don't really know of like any specific thing besides prayer, which is obviously very important, but when I was younger. But I know like now that I'm older, I guess I wanted to say too, like it's not, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but I don't feel like I'll ever be like, oh, you're cured, I'm done. You know, it's like this is over now.
Yeah.
Because there's like different cycles, and one of the things. So when I got pregnant for the first time, and any of the time, you know, I have 3 kids now, but it was hard because like you're gaining weight, and to see like that number
This Is Us?
go up. No, I hear how good it is.
We just talked about that on Tuesday.
Yeah, it's so, that was a really hard time for me because, like, I know I needed to gain weight for my baby to be healthy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I am gaining so much weight, and then it was like, this is, like, every time it was like, this is the biggest I've ever been. This is the biggest I've ever been. This is the fattest I've ever been.
Yeah.
And then, people say things, and again, I don't think that they mean anything, or like, oh, your belly's getting so big, or whatever.
Yeah. On This Is Us, they were out walking, and a lady was like, oh, you're having a baby, and just that someone noticed was like so hard for her.
Yeah.
But,
and so
did you have like a mentor or anybody, or did you go to counseling or anything like that?
So I just had I had like my weekly check-in at the nurse's office. And so I was able to talk to her, but I didn't really have any other people.
Yeah.
But now, so as an adult, then I think just knowing like what things calm you. So like water calms me, sunsets calm me, walking. Like usually if I go for a walk, it ends up being, like a 45-minute prayer.
Yeah.
And so just like knowing those things now, and I don't really feel like I had much of a good something when I was at my worst, but now I think as an adult, just like trying to stop myself from like getting back into the cycle, I have those certain things. And also honestly, like now just being able to talk about it and to talk to other people and to just pray that your mess can be a message, and that maybe somebody else will like you'll help them through it.
Yeah, I like that. Your mess can be a message. Do you think, and we can start to wrap up, do you think there are things that a church can do that would help people? Like what are things a church can offer? Or
I think example tonight, recovery group, it's Hurts, Habits, Hang-Ups.
Yeah.
you can go in there and be grieving for a cat, or you can be in there and have
codependency,
PTSD, like
yeah.
just a mix of people, and it's amazing just how this church reaches out, and it's Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday nights.
I think Tuesday's not meeting anymore, but yeah.
Okay.
Thursdays at 6:15.
Yeah.
Cambridge and Isani, and then Saturdays at 5:30 here at Cambridge.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, you sit in the groups and you talk to people, and like the first day I went there, like people were praying over me, and I'm like, I was a little overwhelmed, but like, it makes you feel like you're not alone, and like anything you're going through is not like
bizarre. It's not.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that in there. I feel like I'm able to be open and talk about whatever, because someone in there's been through something similar.
Yeah. Anything the church can offer.
I think just like constantly saying, like, I know after service, you know, you're always like, the prayer team is up here, the prayer team is here, and just like constantly, even though, you know, like we hear it every week, just like making everyone, making it known that there's somebody here, like that can talk to you, that will pray with you, you know, that will help you through. And then as far as like, you know, younger people, I feel like, you know, having maybe talks about, like, I guess I don't know what they do in youth group and whatever, but you know, just like having those those like you know, positive self-image talks, and just like you know, constantly reiterating it to
who made you,
right,
that he died for you,
right,
like how much more can you love someone,
right,
you know?
Just making it known that you know, you are worth it, and there's somebody here that you can talk to, and just having that like no judgment zone. I think just like creating that zone where, you know, you can go and talk to somebody and not feel like they're gonna be like, oh well, she is this, or you know, oh, feel bad for her, or you know, just creating that, you know, just making sure everybody knows that there's a safe space where they can go and talk to somebody about it.
And that was one of my main goals in doing this, is like, how can we as Christians present the best space for people to heal? And you know, the stereotype of Christians is that we're religious, we're legalistic, we're bigots, we think we know, you know. And so I'm like, I believe New Hope is not like that, you know, from what I know and being on staff. I feel like, you know, and I said last week too that we're the island of misfit toys from Rudolph. It's like, oh, you're not in Rudolph, you don't, oh, come to New Hope. We're an island of misfit toys. And so I feel like that's
really funny.
Right? That's going to be my marketing campaign at Christmas.
That's really funny.
That's why, right? Because it's the water gun who shoots jelly, and the
elephant, the polka dotted white elephant, I got for a Christmas gift one year.
See, the train with square wheels.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So I feel like that's part of what I was drawn to at New Hope, is like, okay, I was going to say there's no masks. There's no masks here. People are honest. People have tattoos all over, you know, and that's what I liked. And so I think we can corporately, in my job as, you know, in marketing, portray that to people, and even literally say that out loud if I wanted to. But if Christian people and Christian women are not presenting themselves that way on social media or in person, then the church I can't help that, you know. Like, it's up to us and the people watching to create those safe spaces and be the kind of person that someone can approach and feel safe with. And so I think just an encouragement to everybody, asking open-ended questions and just being kind, you know, a kind Christian woman that people can talk to.
And I think also, like, people sometimes, like, you know, we have non-Christian friends who are like, well, Christians just think that they're better than everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, like, I, like, daily, I'm like, I failed in, like, all of these places. Like, so many, you know, just, like, and that, you know, we're sinners. We're all sinners. It doesn't matter if you're a Christian or not, or, you know. And so I think, just, like, putting it out there, and also, being open to talking about the things. Like, we're not perfect.
Yeah.
And even though, like, I'm literally sitting some nights or I was sitting with like an empty ice cream bucket, like praying while also trying to like, okay, I'm like, I want to throw up right now. Like, I want to try this, And so just knowing, that, we mess up all the time and we hit bottom, but like God is always there. And, it doesn't matter where you are. And I love this song that's like, you're never too far, it's like you might just be one step away from, the rest of your life. And so,
Yeah, and I think too, we'll wrap up. Like the people that Jesus chose to be his disciples were like a hot mess. Like all of them were like, you are not the right type of person to be sharing the gospel, but it's like he knew what they were, who they were, and he picked them, follow me. And so I hope that anyone watching who's really struggling, you're not too far gone, and God can use your mess, and come back from anything. I mean, my husband was a hot mess, and went to prison and all that kind of stuff, but, been in recovery ministry and all that, and it's like, we all know stories of people who were like the worst of the worst, who are a huge blessing to ministry now. So, yeah, just encourage you, if you're watching, you're not too far gone. Is there anything else that you guys want to say to either people struggling or Christian women watching?
I think with church though too, you say, "Oh, how are you doing?" Good.
Yeah.
How are you going? Good.
Right.
Instead of saying, "How are you doing? How can I pray for you?"
Yeah.
Because
so powerful.
when you say that, people stop and like, "Oh,
they care."
And then you might be able to open someone up that's going through what we've gone through, or whatever they're going through. You can have them know that they're being prayed for and they're cared for, especially in New Hope stores or anywhere. Because you say that, someone's literally first thought is they care enough.
Right, that's so true.
Yeah,
because saying like, how are you, is kind of like the random, like, it's just what you do. Just like, and you could say,
how are you?
Oh, good.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah. Fine, thanks. How are you?
Yeah.
It's just, the dialogue that we have. But yeah, like having somebody say, and I always say, like, when our friends just, something maybe even is happening that I wasn't planning on saying to anybody, but then, you receive a message from a friend that says, like, I've been thinking about you. How can I pray for you today?
Yep.
Just like, it's like, oh, and then also I'm like, I just like put myself in the mindset that like, this, God sent me this person right now. Like, this is the person, like you've been keeping this in for so long. And I literally just sent somebody to you to directly say, like, how can I pray for you? Like, obviously, I always think of it as like, that's an obvious connection that God wants, us to make. And so just, saying that to people, just to get them to open up, and maybe they won't right away, but I mean.
Right. You build a relationship so that when they're ready or the time comes, it exists. Yeah, if the relationship is there. But, all right. Well, I think we're going to pray, and then, just communicate to everybody listening that you can come and talk to us. I think our guests are open if people have questions or want to be connected. You can send us a message or contact us. Anything from social media will come right to me. And so we'd be happy to connect you with these lovely ladies. I'll say too, we try to talk about spiritual friendships here at New Hope, and it's like a one-on-one mentoring relationship. They go through a book called Project 52, and you just meet with someone once a week, go over a Bible story. But yeah, it's a mentoring relationship. And so I think with this kind of situation and with some of the other things like the mental health and the grief and loss that we'll talk about, don't struggle alone. Like, reach out. And we try really hard to like connect people who, have a similar background or have come through something similar or some shared hobby, or, make a connection, not just shove people together. So yeah, I'm going to plug for spiritual friendships too, if that's something you're looking for. If you just ask me about it, it's not committing to it. It's just asking questions. So yeah. All right. Well, I think we're going to pray and then close up. God, thank you so much for this time. I thank you for these women who were bold enough to come forward and share their testimony. And we just pray that you would use this time to bless others, that you would use our messes to speak to them, and that you would just speak to their heart. God, you made each person, you died for each person. And so we pray that even now, if anyone is struggling, that they would just recognize their true identity, as your child. And so we just pray that blessing out through the airwaves, that you just show your love so clearly to people who are listening. We thank you so much for giving us this opportunity, for the technology and all that kind of stuff. We just thank you for giving us this opportunity to talk about you. And in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right, thank you for watching, guys. See you at 8:30 for a conversation on healing and prayer with